Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of season 2 of the Throughlines podcast. Today we are talking Sabbath. We're going to talk about how to find rest in Jesus Christ. We're going to talk practical, we're going to talk theoretical, we're going to talk kind of how God institutes Sabbath and what that looks like. So sit back, maybe close your eyes a little bit, and let's get into the Sabbath conversation. Frappuccino, like sure, I'm totally fine if you want to get one of those.
There's a dash of coffee in it, but it's not a coffee.
Yeah, I'm totally fine if you want to get it, but call it what it is. It's a milkshake. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna knock you for getting a frappuccino, for getting a little frappe dappe.
It's a thin milkshake.
Yeah, but I will not call it like you can't say I love coffee. Like I love those too. I enjoy them. I get them sometimes.
So the issue is not them ordering it. The issue is them saying like, "Hey, this is coffee." When
yes,
like, no, that's not
saying
coffee.
Like,
it's a dash of coffee.
I love coffee. No, you don't. You love sugar and milk. That's what you love.
Well, I mean, that's the American diet, right?
Yeah,
there,
I love sugar and milk too. but yeah, like that's yeah.
This is a great, I think, intro just to what we're talking about today because, like, coffee, as we both enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to slow down to enjoy it. You have to slow down in the process. You have to slow down in order to really see the benefits. Whereas you just add sugar and milk, throw it into a K-cup thing, blend it together. It's quick, it's easy, it's convenient, but it's not coffee, right?
Right. Yeah. I listen. I might catch some flack for saying that, but I don't think a frappuccino is coffee.
Is it fair to call it a coffee drink?
Yes, you get caffeinated from it, but it's not. I don't know. I feel like kind of a jerk when I talk about this,
but it's okay. I think here's where I think the segue is as we're kind of opening up this episode. This morning, you intentionally decided slow down, take it easy, use the old Chemex.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because it's a time that I can have and just slow down. like I think that's the point of it. That's why I love making tea. I love coffee in this way where it's not like super fast. It's a process. I have to measure out the beans and I have a hand grinder and I grind it and then I put the water on the filter so it doesn't tear whenever you get it going. And so it's a whole process and I love the process of it because it forces me to take a beat, take a breath.
Yeah, and I think so. I love making cold brew. Similar mindset.
Yeah.
I mean,
cold brew takes a lot longer. Yeah.
But then you get to enjoy the fruits of the labor, and I think we are in such a cultural moment, culture of like busy, go, to intentionally take time to stop and rest. Now we're talking about coffee, right? But there's ultimately like when it comes to Sabbath, when it comes to rest, like to intentionally create those rhythms. Mm-hmm. We're going to say, I think it's spoiler alert, we're going to say it's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Sabbath is a good. So what we're going to do for this episode is we're just going to watch Josh take a 30-minute nap. That's what today's episode is. He's going to Sabbath. And, we're just going to. That might be weird. It might be weird for me to just sit here and watch you sleep.
We would grow in our following tremendously. I mean, it would be incredible. Well, welcome to the Throughlines podcast.
We're glad you're here. Glad you're here.
We are excited. We're in season 2. This is a great time, great opportunity for us. Season 1, I think, was a learning process, but also so much fun.
Of course.
Season 2 kicked off in Utah.
Yep.
Which was a blast. And our engineer, our production manager, our
producer.
I was trying to think of the appropriate
producer's
title.
Producer's the podcast word. If you want to use the podcast word,
Well, let's all go fancy.
Zach
did a killer job on that episode. I encourage you to go watch it. But today
we did get some pretty crazy YouTube comments on that one.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go back and check those out.
We did. We had some debates happening in the comments.
Ooh, all right.
So that was fun.
Hopefully, we're going to anticipate some debates in this topic then too, because ultimately, like we're pushing up against an idol of busyness, an idol of going hard and going fast and going till you die mentality that our culture represents. And so debate us in the comments. Zach will answer each and every one of those and let you know why you're wrong. So
that's one of his roles that I don't envy. He's got to respond to all the YouTube people.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey. So we're kicking off today talking about Sabbath rest. So let me just kind of ask you this, Caleb, because we've been coming as a church out of this digital fast. Not the entirely the same thing, but like what are some of the things, like, tell us about the digital fast. Tell
Yeah.
us kind of what we're coming out of here.
Yeah. So if you don't know, we recently, when was it? It was a couple months ago. I don't remember the exact time, but it was a couple months ago. And
The month of July,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. So we as a church encouraged everybody to take a digital fast, and that looked different for everybody. Some people just like deleted social media. Some people were like, I'm gonna get off my phone as much as I can. Some people were like, I'm gonna stop watching TV shows and playing games, like video games and all that sort of stuff. So everybody did kind of their own thing. But I think the fruit of it was really good. I think the fruit is people were able to, because I don't know if you know this, our phones speed us up so much, and
yeah.
so they were always on because we have them.
Speaking of that, I'm gonna put this on D&D real quick.
There you go. So we just kind of encourage people to take a beat, take a breath, and just step back from that for a little bit, for a month. And I think that the response was overwhelmingly positive for those who participated in it.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think for me, that's the thing. Like, there's some individuality to it. So, for me, I took the break from social media primarily, but it and from my phone. But like the thing that I caught myself kind of going back to, and this is a little bit with this idea of busyness and ongoing pace. And July is not a busy sports month, other than baseball, really. Like, there's some what is it, summer leagues and some things like that going
Yeah.
on, but I found myself still like on the front end of the fast, obsessively kind of checking ESPN app and going through it and looking at the storylines
Yes.
and seeing
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
those
yeah.
headlines.
Yeah.
And had to, like, throughout the course of the fast, make like this little intentional shift, even in that approach. So, like, social media, just just leave it off the phone. I don't even think about it. But like ESPN, right when I open my phone, is
dude,
there.
that's so real. And I did that too. I would get on my phone. It's so interesting. You notice your habits, and so I would
Yeah.
like open my phone and go to find Instagram, but it's not there. It's like, oh goodness, like that's not good. So then I would go to Letterboxd and just look at what movies they've been watching.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I would do. And so, like, yeah, you got to be conscious of how you're feeling the time, and actually try to intentionally take a step back to like say I'm not I'm gonna put my phone away. I started doing a thing where like I would put my phone to bed at 9 p.m. Put it in a different room, charge it somewhere else, and not have it right next to me by the bed, and that's really great.
Yeah,
It's
TechWise
super
family
nice.
talks about that. Like, our phones go to bed before us, they wake up
Yeah.
after us, they're in a separate bedroom than
Right,
us, like
right.
mentality.
Yeah, it's initially you feel a little bit naked. You feel a little bit like you're itching a little bit.
It's
So-
disoriented.
yeah, for sure. But then eventually it becomes like, oh, this is like the most peaceful part of my day. Like I'm able to rest so well because of this.
And I think that's ultimately where we're going within this conversation, even is the need for Christ followers to adhere to God's beautiful opportunity for us to rest, to Sabbath well, to really dive in. And so a digital fast, I mean, really is an opportunity to, I like what you said there, intentionally process some things, intentionally build some new habits and rhythms, while walking through like some of the idols that we have, like that disorientedness, that kind of itchiness that says something about where our heart lies, I think.
Absolutely.
And that's where this conversation of Sabbath is going to be, I think, so helpful for us as we're continuing to be, I think, just travelers along the way, wanting to do God's word and God's will well.
Yeah, for sure. If I feel a certain type of way when I don't have my phone, as opposed to when I do, then it's an idol. Like if it has that much of an effect on me, then I need to start putting that away more. I need to fix my focus on Jesus in that moment, because whenever I put it in a different room and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like I don't know what to do when I don't have it, and so that's where I think this digital fast helped a ton, and where Sabbath as a concept can help us grow closer to Jesus through it.
Well, and that's where I think hopefully as we're diving into this, we're talking about Sabbath. We're going to maybe be referencing the digital fast as we go throughout this, but the Sabbath conversation really starts with what you said, like God, right? We see in the beginning, God creates, and then on the seventh day he rested, not because he needed to, not because he was tired from work, but he intentionally was setting that for us. And then what is Sabbath? Like, how would we kind of define that, or biblically, where would we look to see that principle kind of lay out? What do you think, Caleb?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think God sets that precedent in Genesis, where he works, for lack of a better term. he can just create with his words, but he works to set that precedent for us. So he worked for 6 days. We have a 5 day work week, and I think this might actually we can get into this later, but our 5 day work week might kind of deter us from actually taking a real Sabbath. So he works for 6 days, and then on the seventh day he says, "Okay, I'm going to rest. I'm going to take time to just stop, cease." I think that's where Sabbath kind of it speaks to ceasing, not just resting, but stopping, and those are two different things. They're connected, but they're different. And so, I think we see in God's standard that He set, like we are to take time to stop activity, to just exist and be and find who we are in Him. And it's very easy for us to not. Like whenever we're working, whenever we're busy, whenever we're doing things, it's easy for us to not focus on Him.
Agreed.
And whenever we are like whenever we do stuff, and that's I mean we can probably go back to this fast quite a bit, but like when I'm laying in bed and I don't have my phone, instead of scrolling or whatever, instead of texting people or doing whatever, I'm like just sitting by myself, and in my thoughts, I tend to turn towards Him more often. So I don't know. What do you think Sabbath is?
I agree with everything you said, and I think
wow, awesome, that's great.
It's hard not to. I mean, when you're saying Genesis, this is what happened, like it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think and that's true. Like even on some of the more innocuous things, like our phones, where we can point that out and say, my thoughts drift from God when I'm on my phone, when I'm watching sports, when I'm binging Netflix shows or something like that. But like I think the same is true is also like even in our Christian service at times, like the things that we're doing for Christ can sometimes be a busyness that keeps us from focusing on God and ceasing activity and resting. I think even as we look at like the book of Exodus and we see God instituting kind of more formally the Sabbath and calling it holy, He talks about, remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy, 6 days labor, do all your work. The seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. Don't work, neither you, basically your household, your family, your servants, your animals, anyone. And then he points to the Genesis account and says, therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, made it holy. So like this idea of all activity being an opportunity to be holy, set apart. So Sabbath is holy, set apart, ceasing of work and activity for the purpose of remembering the Lord our God, I think.
Yeah. And I think in that idea of taking a whole day, where it's like, now you don't want to make it legalistic to where, the Jews are doing in the New Testament, and even now some Jewish people will be like, oh, I gotta make. I've seen some videos where they'll be like, I gotta make tea or something, so I boil the tea in my Keurig. I have the water hot and it pours into a cup, and then I've got to pour it into another cup because there's something about like you can't boil water or something like just extra
because
steps.
That counts as work. And
Yeah. So all that to say, I think that having a day to say I'm not going to do anything is super helpful, especially in that mental state. Because like if I take a day and I'm like I'm gonna rest, but I'm gonna allow myself to do some work today if I really need to, then I have that kind of that caveat, that little kind of a bypass of the day, and say, okay, if I really need to do something, I can do it. So then my mind is still thinking through work or thinking through things that I need to do, because that's what the mind does. Like, a lot of times when you're laying in bed at night, you're not going to God. You're thinking about, what do I got to get done tomorrow? What,
we're taking
who do I
the
need to
different
talk
channels,
to?
different routes.
Yeah. So whenever there's a whole day of I'm not going to allow myself to do anything, then that kind of helps the brain to shut off more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. You mentioned we're not here to be legalistic. I think we would both absolutely encourage Christ followers to have dedicated devotional times of Sabbath. And we'll talk maybe more how we do that. What does that look like? Is it literal 24 hours or what? But I do think like it's important not to be legalistic because God has instituted it as holy. And then in the New Testament, you're kind of referencing this. Jesus says like man was not made for the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. He says that in Mark 2. And there's that call for us then, there's that call for us then to see it as a benefit for us, to see it as an opportunity to fix our eyes on greater things, really the greatest thing, not thing, but the greatest one, our Lord and Savior. And so like Sabbath becomes an opportunity for worship simply by ceasing. And that's so often like we don't think about that because worship is typically we think singing, we think
Yeah.
corporate handheld or handheld high and things like that. But
Yeah.
like no, like Sabbath is set apart for something special,
Yeah.
and the specialness is ceasing
Yeah.
in order to be with God.
What does that look like for you to worship through Sabbath?
Man, I will be honest. Like I'm probably one of the worst people on this, and this is something like I'm really like this is where the digital fast for me has been helpful. Auditing my not just my time spent on my phone, but auditing some of the rhythms, the opportunities, because I feel like even daily time in the Word or like what kind of I'm going to get the train here going to Sabbath Town, but daily time in the Word,
Choo
like
choo.
that's right. But if I'm not careful, it becomes like, what am I doing versus how am I abiding?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I really benefit from putting solitude and Sabbath on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I really benefit when I have that on the calendar. And that's maybe immature of me. Maybe some of you are much stronger, more disciplined, and praise God for that. But it allows me then to simply, hey, I'm not scheduling opportunity. I'm not scheduling meetings. I'm not scheduling.
Yeah.
I'm not answering emails. I'm not doing any of this. I'm going to be intentional about time in the Word.
Yeah.
And be intentional about private and corporate prayer. But honestly, like I'm going to be intentional in trying to love my family, my friends, my community well during that time. And so
Yeah.
less about even like, what do I get done? You know, it's an opportunity to say, how do I love the Lord my God with all my heart, all my mind, with all my strength, with all my might?
Yeah. No, that's good. And I don't think the calendar thing is like bad. I think it's a great thing because that's something that I've really been struggling with and wrestling with lately. In just I have so many things on my calendar. I'm, okay, story time. In college, I really struggled to do things and to push myself and to work on doing hard things. And so I told myself one time, I was like, I'm just gonna say yes to every opportunity that comes up.
Mm.
And because if I
That's the old Bob Goff method, right?
yeah. But like if somebody said, "Hey, can you preach this?" I was super nervous of public speaking and preaching, and so I would just say yes to everything that came up, and I think that really did grow me for a season. But I'm still in that mentality of saying yes to everything. And I had a professor who kind of put it this way. He said the quantity of your no's determines the quality of your yeses. And so now I'm at a point in my life where I don't have a free night this week. Like everything's booked. And so I have been saying yes, and that can be a good thing, but also to set time in my schedule, in my calendar, and say, hey, I've got Sabbath like all day today. I'm going to be intentional to set aside this time. And then if somebody says, "Hey, can you do whatever this day?" I'm like, "Sorry, I'm booked." Like it's not a bad thing to have that in your calendar to A, block it off for yourself, but B, be able to tell people like, "Hey, I'm busy that day," actually. And by busy that day, I'm resting, I'm Sabbathing. And that is something that I think is such a good thing that we maybe can feel guilty for, and I feel guilty for at times, And so if I don't have that in my calendar, if I don't have that time booked out, then it just ends up filling up with other stuff.
Yeah, I think in our cultural moment, I mean, you always have to be on, and people talk about that sometimes with our roles as pastors, but I think it's a much larger cultural issue.
Yeah.
Where the immediate gratification, the immediate need to be available, the immediate need to respond to something can make us feel guilty to intentionally schedule rest, to intentionally season. And I think that's where people pleasing comes in, like the idol of people pleasing. I think that's where the idol of technology can come into play. I think there's so many idols out there that we have to confront because ultimately God has commanded us to do this. But more than a command, like I mean, yes, we should be obedient to the command. Let me say that, but like it's an opportunity for fellowship. It's an opportunity for intimacy with God. It's an opportunity to live the life that we were created to live. And I love Lance Whitten. Like I forget what book he is that he wrote this in, but he talks about everything God created needs rest and restoration. Everything God created needs to be re-energized. Nothing made to constantly produce.
Yeah.
And that's a fight for me personally in this culture. Like my heart starts to beat whenever someone's like, "Oh, just slow down and just sit here and sit still." Like, you and I've talked before. Like, I don't sit still through movies at all. I might be able to sit and read a book for a long time, but like I'm just constantly wanting to move and jump to the next thing. And Sabbath forces me to confront why is that, while even then digging deeper into saying, what do I believe about God because of this?
Yeah.
And how is my worship of God affected through this?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's good because a lot of times we can have this kind of like a misrepresentation in our own minds of I need to be busy and productive for the sake of being productive. But a lot of times we're just trying to mask like what we're actually trying to or what we
Yeah.
actually need to address, what we actually need to wrestle with in our own minds. Where it's like I'm just going to stay busy so I don't have to think about X, Y, Z. So I don't
100%,
have to deal with my issues or whatever. So I'm just going to be as busy as I can. And so I think that's good because I think that's something that a lot of us wrestle with. I'm just going to fill my day with as much as I can so that I don't have to actually, address things in my life that I probably should.
And I think people do that not only with I won't say secular things, but like everyday things, but people do that with church things as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
build up the church calendar and
Yeah.
participate in every activity.
Uh huh.
Whereas Sabbath is really this opportunity. I've heard an author say Sabbath is an opportunity to remember God's provision, and I think that that's helpful for our mentality. Something I think in this Sabbath conversation, what do you think, Caleb, in regards to having a set 24-hour period?
Yeah.
The early church historically has been Sunday morning or Sundays. Excuse
Yeah.
me. How do you flesh that out? How do you framework
Yeah.
like when that Sabbath takes place?
Well, I mean, the win for me is not as important. I think it. I think honestly, some people, and I have said this, and I still do believe this to an extent, but like build Sabbath into your day, so it doesn't have to be a set 24 hours. But I do think there's extreme value in a 24-hour period.
Agreed.
Because you're able to shut your mind off because it's like I'm not going to allow myself to do anything today or to work. Something that somebody said once, I don't remember who. I'm very bad at attributing quotes to who they go to, but
Wait 1 second. Zach put quote right here with the appropriate
there you
picture
go.
of the author.
Yeah. And I'm also bad at quoting them, but essentially, if you work with your mind, rest with your hands, and if you work with your hands, rest with your mind. So like if you are a blue collar worker, Sabbath with reading and listening to podcasts or whatever, and then if you work a desk job or something, go get physical. So doing something. So, but all that to say, I do think that a 24-hour period is beneficial and helpful. I don't think it has to be on Sunday. I think our calendar has made it to where Sunday is probably the best for it. I think it's good to have that corporate worship inside of that 24-hour period.
Agreed.
Some people can't make that happen though. Their job requires them to work on Sundays or whatever. So I think that get it where you can.
We're not being legalistic on the win.
And that's where Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And so Jesus says like this is supposed to be a blessing to you. And if it ever becomes not a blessing to you, then you maybe have made it something that it shouldn't be.
Yeah, or you're not prioritizing it the way you should.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I think with that even just because I think so often people say like, well, yeah, I go to church. That's my Sabbath. That's my rest. And it's like, yes, it is. But
that's
like
an hour and a half.
And when we talk, not 24 hours. But even when we talk about like the ceasing from activities, you mentioned reading podcasts. We're not just simply saying go out. Like I'm reading a book on Peter the Great right now.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible book.
Mm-hmm.
When I read it though, that's not my Sabbath. Like
sure.
So when we talk about some of these activities, or when I go out and run on the treadmill and like it's restful and I'm listening to worship music, like that can be good. That's not inherently, I don't think Sabbath. Like it could be Sabbath.
Yes.
I think what we have to focus on is like what's our end goal. So not the win.
Yes.
That's not the legalistic part, but the why.
Yeah, for sure. The why and the where's your heart at. So I love watching movies on my day off. I go to the movie theater and sit and watch a movie, but that's not really what Sabbath is about. Like you said earlier, it's about abiding in Christ, about making him your sole focus. And so can you do that while running and listening to worship music? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But if you're not thinking about that, if you're not wanting it to be that, then it probably won't be.
Yeah. And I think that's where like for individual Christ followers today, like some of this is fleshing out, like taking audit and inventory of our schedules, our rhythms that we're currently engaged in, and asking not only where am I going to schedule this Sabbath, but also asking like, how am I going to abide by that? So for like our family, Friday nights, we do homemade pizza and a movie.
Yeah.
That's a part for us of our Sabbath for the week. And if I don't have to, I say no very much to everything on Fridays other than that. And we don't do it perfectly. And it doesn't always look as clean as we would like it to look in the sense of like intentionality, but like we use it as a time to disciple our boys. We use it as a time to have discussions around the movies we're watching. We use it as a time to try to point them towards God through the things of everyday moments of family building. And so that's for us. but for others, it's going to look different.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and so like the Christ follower thing is not to say, how do I do this as a formula?
Mm-hmm.
It's how do I do this in a way that aligns with God's call
Yeah.
to enjoy this blessing and this benefit?
Sure. Because God exists in the everyday. Like he exists in the mundane moments and probably more there than others. Like
Yeah.
he exists there, and so we've got to do a good job at just recognizing that. Recognizing that he is there, that he's in the room with us. Like I think that that's one of the biggest things about Sabbath for me is like whenever I am taking that intentional time, I'm able to say, "Oh, like God's here right now."
Yeah, and this is maybe a hot take, and we don't have to dive into this fully, but like that's where I think worship songs that talk about like we welcome you here, we invite you in. That's stupid. Just hot take. That's stupid because God is already there. Like we don't welcome Him in. Like we are invited by Him to. Sorry, this is
No, I 100%
this is
agree
not
with you.
anything
But
that we're talking about.
that's so funny.
But I think that even that mentality though within our culture of like it's on our timetable, our schedule,
yes.
The writers of those songs probably have amazing intentions. We should bless them with those intentions. But like,
and there's some poetic license there.
So it's not a knock on them, but it's like when we sing them, we should absolutely consider what are we saying and what are we doing? Because ultimately, God has invited us into this wonderful thing.
Yes, absolutely.
That's such a sidetrack.
No, but it's real because it's this idea that like, okay, we're gonna take a day of Sabbath, and so that's gonna be our time where we bring God in. It's like, no, he's there all the time.
Or go to church and it's an hour and a half.
Yeah. It's an hour. An hour.
I don't know. If Pastor Jeff is preaching, it's closer to an hour and a half.
True. Yeah. So,
but I think, okay, so let's talk a little bit then. What are some meaningful tips that you would say for a Christ follower who's like, man, I see God's command. I see it's made for my enjoyment, for me, as an opportunity to be wholly set apart. What are some ways that you would encourage people to maybe get started towards Sabbath? Not a formula, but just some tips and pointers from your own life. I
mean, this with the digital fast, I think one of the biggest things I can encourage you to do is like not just put your phone away, but turn it off, put it in a different room, and don't think about it for an extended period of time. Because, back before Wi-Fi, back before social media, like I feel like it was a lot easier to do these things. I was like 4, but I feel like it was a lot easier to do some of these things whenever you don't have the constant distraction. I think that's a big piece of what it is. It's centering our focus, and whenever we are distracted, it's a lot harder to do that. So turn off your phone. Obviously, some of it's the Sunday school answers, like be in your word, spend time in prayer. I love going on walks just around town. I just put in headphones, and sometimes I'll listen to a podcast. Sometimes I'll just sit and just listen to nature or whatever. Go down to Pawnee Prairie or Sedgwick County Zoo or just around your house, whatever you have available. Like, I think that something about recognizing God's presence, like being outside, helps a lot with that.
Yeah.
You can see His creation, the beauty in His creation. You can see Him moving in the wind, like in how the trees sway and stuff. You can see God moving in that. And so I think being outside for me, as you know, and that's probably maybe an individual thing, but for me, being outside is super helpful in just recognizing God's presence. So get outside, get moving. Like it doesn't have to be I'm sitting in a room all day reading a book or reading my Bible. Like that's not what Sabbath is. And honestly, for a lot of people, that's a lot more work than it is restful.
Yeah.
So like get outside, get walking, get moving. I think one thing that maybe we don't think Sabbath could be is just sitting around a table and eating with close friends or family.
I was going to suggest that one.
Being intentional with the time, of course. Like talking about your discussion, I think should be more intentional than maybe other times. But like eating food around a table is one of the most restful things you can do, and builds community super well too.
Well, and I think that building deep, meaningful, God-centered relationships. I mean, we talk about that a lot with small groups here. But I think that's an intentional part of Sabbath is like sharing a meal with loved ones that you have meaningful relationships with can be such a God-honoring Sabbath opportunity, I think.
Absolutely.
The other thing I think I would maybe add on to what you were saying is this idea of just plan ahead. And when I say that, I don't mean like be rigid. Don't plan every activity you're going to do, but like plan ahead in the sense of putting it on your calendar or making an intentional effort. Maybe you're not at a spot where like every week is going to work for you. I'd argue like maybe check your calendar if that's the case because
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
can, but
Make it
start
happen.
planning ahead with it. I was talking to a friend yesterday and he was talking about vacation with his wife and she asked him like, what time do you want to leave? What time do you want like? And she was trying to get him to nail down like we're leaving the house at this point in time. He's like, well, we never leave the house at this time. I just know we're leaving on this day. So like,
Yeah.
so don't be rigid with it. Don't be
Yeah.
frustrated if you say you're going to start at 9 a.m. You start at 10. Like,
Oh man.
but to really lean into the opportunities by planning ahead, saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this.
Sure.
I'm going to make it a priority. I'm etching it out."
Yeah, yeah. Something else that I would encourage that I think is really, really cool. So we take a young adult retreat every year. It's this isn't what I was gonna say, but get out of town if you can, if you have the
Yeah.
opportunity, like just get to somewhere new but all that to say, so like a couple years ago we went down to Tulsa and we went to the Gathering Place and we took
Phenomenal if you're here in the Wichita area. Easy
it's quick.
1 day drive.
Yeah, for sure. It's super, super cool. Like $300 million park or something like that. If you haven't heard of it, it's awesome. But we went there and I just sent them out with some booklets. Some materials on like, hey, you can do several of these things like prayer practices and scriptures to meditate on. And I said, hey, we're gonna take like 4. I don't remember, Zach, was it 4 or 6 hours? Do you remember? So something like that. 4 hours. So 4 hours. And I want you to not speak. Silence and solitude. You're going to go by yourself and be just with you and God. And it was really cool. And we got some super good feedback from it. The young adults, I think it's something that we don't do very often. So the young adults were really appreciative of it and felt like they connected with God through it. And so that was a couple years ago. This last year we went to Branson. We went to Silver Dollar City. We went to Sight and Sound Theater. Like we did a lot of fun things. But what was so interesting to me, I thought they would love, the roller coasters and the musical, which they did, but a lot of them were like, "Hey man, like, are we doing Silence and Solitude this year? like, let's do that again." And so I think the idea of being silent, not speaking, is beneficial for a time of Sabbath of taking time to say, I'm just going to sit and let God speak in whatever method or means He wants to. And so all that to say, I think that's another practical thing that you could try to do is spend time in extended silence and solitude with God.
Well, two things I draw from that. One, weekly practice this, but the opportunity even quarterly or once a year, twice a year, going very intentionally on a solitude retreat type thing is something that you might be able to do, plan for, budget for, stuff like that. Two, just being equipped with some of the opportunities that God has given us, silence and solitude, reading God's word, prayer. Sometimes we're just not aware of how those things can be intentional things, not for growth and it is growth, not for study and intellect and knowledge,
right?
But for formation of who we are as the people of God.
Yeah.
And so I think leaning into those as well.
And something, if you're wanting to do a retreat, there's some like, the theology may be a bit different, but there's like some monasteries or like near that take people in for free, and you can just go live with them for a couple days and just recharge, get rejuvenated. And I think that's something that's so big is whenever we are in this zone of I've got to do, go, we forget that we are people who God made. He designed us to need rest, to need that time. And so whenever we get that time, it's like, oh, it's just the best. Like, okay, for example, my family went on vacation this summer, and we have some friends who have a lake house in Council Grove. And a lot of times for vacation, you try and like squeeze a bunch of stuff in, and you come back feeling more tired than you did before. And on this vacation, Council Grove, I don't know if you know Council Grove, there's not a lot to do in Council Grove. So we just sat at the house, we sat on the lake, and it was so restful because we weren't doing anything. And so God made us that way. Like you said, like what was the quote about everything in creation? God set up to need rest, to need recharge. Like, God even instituted in the Old Testament, like, let your fields rest, let your crops rest. And farmers still do that now. It's called letting a field go fallow, I think, where they let the ground rest so that the soil can recharge and get ready for a new crop. Because if you keep going just year after year after year, the soil won't produce as good of crops. Yeah. And so we are the same way. So I don't remember how I started that, but but we need that time to rest. Oh yeah, go to a monastery. Like they'll like
talk about the choo-choo train all over.
For sure. Go to a it's a really cool thing to just sit and pray with them and glean from them, because these guys are like, or a convent if you're a female. But these people, they just, that's what they do with their whole life is kind of a Sabbath idea.
Well, and I think ultimately, as we kind of land in the plane a little bit, just like the heart and the intention of Sabbath.
Is it time to land the plane already?
I'm going to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes as we look at this, like to your point there, like the go. Ultimately, like we are wanting to physically, mentally, emotionally recharge our bodies through rest. But I think ultimately, like the whole point of Sabbath is about who God is and what He has done. And ultimately, Sabbath, when we practice Sabbath as Christ followers, it's an opportunity to say we believe in the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross. It's an opportunity for us to say we truly believe that Jesus has paid it all. He has accomplished it all. And so when we institute rest within our individual life as Christ followers and our corporate identity as the church, it's an opportunity to say we truly believe God is who He says He is.
Yeah.
He has done this good work, and He will see it through to the finish. And so it's not on our shoulders. It's not our burden to carry. And what an amazing display of the gospel then, because it's a witness then to a watching world who is weary and tired and burdened and hurried and stressed out of the wazoo.
Yeah. Well, and that is so good, because what you said earlier, it's like taking Sabbath, taking rest is saying, I believe in God's provision. And to continue to work day in and day out, to continue to say, I've got to do this. I've got to put myself in a good position. Like that's going to you're only going to fail yourself. Like that's never going to work. And so to say, I believe that God can give me the rejuvenation that I need. I believe that He can provide for my needs, even if I take a day off a week, which some people do. Some people do that well as far as work is concerned. But some people don't do that well. So some people are like always going, always thinking, always trying to make stuff happen work-wise. But like I'm going to take time to believe and trust in God's provision for my life. And that's at its core, like if we have a hard time with Sabbath, I think that probably means we have a hard time trusting God.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the Joshua example, like choose today who you will follow. As for me and my household, we will follow the Lord. Sabbath is an opportunity to say, I trust the Lord. And so when we don't Sabbath, we should ask why. We should do the hard work of digging deeper, letting the Spirit sift through us.
Right.
So I think it's fair to say, like, as we're closing out, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Sabbath. We'd love to hear your thoughts on convents and monasteries and rhythms and practices, and how do we engage in this in a world that never stops? How does the Christ follower intentionally stop? And how does the Christ follower, through intentionally stopping, trust God and shine the light of Jesus to the watching world? Any closing thoughts from you?
That's good,
Caleb?
No, I think you the way you put it just kind of clicked for me. It's like, yeah, if I'm not able to Sabbath well, that probably means I'm not trusting God well, and that's not good. Like that's something that we need to work on. That we need to Sabbath can in a way be working out how we trust in God. Like we've really got to figure that out in our own hearts and in our own souls. I think that's something that we don't think about as much, because Sabbath is restful for the body, yes, but it is more so for the soul and for the spirit. Because our soul and our spirit get weary way easier, way longer than our body does. And so it's just a time to say, I'm going to trust in God. I'm going to lean on Him for everything. And I'm going to not do things myself right now. I'm going to let God do it. And I think that's a really good thing. One other closing thought, I guess. I alluded to this earlier, but like the 5-day work week, 6 days that God kind of instituted. I think it's good with Sabbath. It's easy to kind of talk bad about work. It is good to work hard.
Yes,
it is good.
God gave that to him in the garden.
Yeah. God gave that to them. Like you were to work. You were to work hard, and you were to work for 6 days. And so we work hard. We run hard so that we can then rest hard. It becomes easier to Sabbath whenever you're exhausted after 6 days, rather than if you're working kind of half-heartedly throughout the week, and then you're like, I got more things that I got to get done, so it's harder to take that Sabbath. But like, work hard so that you can rest hard in God.
Yeah, I think that's excellent, Caleb. And
what are your closing thoughts, Joshua?
I'd say this. My closing thoughts is, if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this from, whatever app, platform, go ahead and close the browser, take a nap, go for a walk, get in the Word, and then make plans to join us in a couple of weeks as the next episode drops. But thanks so much for joining us today.